Hello, this is an exclusive video for Heather Hurley. Hopefully, this is going to be the first time, hopefully we're going to do Lower Hall Lane in one foul swoop. Now the North Circular is right there, see that traffic queuing up, it's rush hour now. This lane literally goes back 100... Oh dear. That's new. Look at this. Goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, literally hundreds and hundreds of years. You can look it up as I have. Now, latterly, when the North Circular was put in, they put a little cut in here from the North Circular. Let me just go over here now. And it's barely visible, but you can probably see that there. It says Thames Water, Lower Hall Lane pumping station. It's an old sign. So, picking that back up again. The original, I'm not sure whether this phone will actually do this in one go. If it stops, I'll have to film it again, or indeed if I've got enough memory. But being less than half a mile long, it should be possible to do it in one go. This was the gates that I had reopened, and I said that it was a public right-of-way and a public footpath. I had that open, and I also had the security guys cleared off up here. Security guys are in here, and I just said, quietly, do you mind if I speak to somebody? They gave me a phone number, and I said, look, do you realise this is a public right-of-way? 3 months ago, there was a security booth there. Now, this is Lower Hall Lane now, about a tenth into it already. Nothing much to see, but, incredible, really, when you see the history that's in this lane, going back to the earliest date I've got from this lane is 1264. That has to be a record for me. Definitely has to be. So we're going to carry on walking, right? About 2/10 of the way in now. Nothing much to report. Pretty boring single track tarmacked lane that you would get pretty much probably in most parts of the world. But you can hear the noise die away now. You hear the luckily it looks like the rubbish has disappeared, because people, being near the North Circular, the people tend to dump stuff. Now, this is the early bridge that's referenced, the single track bridge that's referenced, although it's been maintained and upgraded on several occasions. I'm just going to cross this now, albeit coming up to the more important bridge, because don't forget this was put in latterly when the River Lee diversion was put in. That's the River Lee diversion, which was put in when the River Lee was diverted, when the reservoir was over there. You can see the raised banks over there. Up over there you've got Banbury, and you've got William Girling Reservoir, and you've got King George. Now here is where it suddenly begins to get majestically interesting. Now you know these buildings by now. They're both Grade 2 listed. In the background I've got an 1886 East Water Company pump house, and this is the all-important bridge. In here, right in front of me, we've got the turbine house. Now, the turbine house had a very revolutionary Victorian turbine in it. A turbine basically means you use the water. Don't forget, this was before the River Lee diversion was put in. So you use the water in the turbine on top to bring the water up from underneath. Here you've got the sluice, which controlled the water level into the turbine house. So underneath there you've got the pumps, which would have been used to distribute the water before electricity, gas, or the combustion engine. That's the old footpath there. That bridge, that even though that's a concrete bridge. Probably would have been a wooden bridge in the past. Indeed, I think I still have photos of that. There's an 80s or 90s footpath sign there, and I do believe that's part of Church Path because it comes right down to here. Now, the well, as far as I understood it, was there where that manhole is, but it's recently been covered over. I'm waiting for the water to force its way through, as it should. However, there are conflicting reports, even though there's no photographic evidence apart from myself, saying that the well was actually underneath this building. Now, if you look here, you can see it says if you look carefully, you can see ELWWC, erected 1896. Now that's the East London Water Company there. This is the place that causes a lot of problems, and this place here has been flooded. In the last 3 years, it's been flooded with fire, police, and also there's an ongoing dispute regarding the developers in there, and they have got a pretty sharp dog, so I can't get in there. I've tried it at several occasions. I've actually got a very nasty Rottweiler, which I encountered. So we're about halfway in now, believe it or not, and the camera's still running, so that's okay. Here now, according to the early maps, there was a moat, and the old what was it, the Chingford farm and Chingford house to my right, just behind these buildings here. Now, as we continue, right, and we're over halfway now, again, it looks pretty boring, doesn't it? You wouldn't imagine that this place has so much history. And as we approach 3/4 of the way through Lower Hall Lane now, Chingford, London Borough of Waltham Forest, there's actually little evidence to suggest anything was here ever. Looks like a pretty mundane commercial residential area, really. However, there are a few other interesting points to note. One is, over there, I've tried to get in there many times without success. There is a treed off spring there, and you just cannot get to it. At some point, hopefully I'll get to it. I've tried on various occasions, but it's actually visible today from Google Maps. It's about 60 foot wide, and it's a spring, naturally aspiring spring. So my theory is that William Booth Bryan knew where the water was coming from, and that's when they put the well in back there. So as we continue now, getting to the end of Lower Hall Lane, there's just a few other points to note. That is that first of all, we're going to cross back over here and going to have a quick look at there's an electrical jenny there with some water, which would typically indicate that there is water. And this don't forget, this was under I would be over halfway flooded. It was over 60 centimetres deep on the 2 last years. You can see 2 drains here. There's an electrical jenny pump in there. Not sure if we can see anything in there, but there's obviously, and this was exactly where the moat was. The moat was here with the Chingford Hall farm, hence Lower Hall, and it had a moat all around it, probably in the centre there where there's another electrical jenny in there which looks like an electrical substation, if you can just see it in the background. That would be rough estimation on the Chingford Hall land, and it had a surrounding moat. Now obviously if they needed a moat they'd have to get water, and the water is just over there in that tree circled, see over there, tree circled tree infenced spring, big spring. You can see it on Google Maps, as I said. There's trees here which would indicate a spring. There's always a little bit of water over there which you can just about see. And over here is where it's the only part of the original church path that I can actually identify today. Now there was a marker here, and I'm not sure if this camera will pick it up. I don't really want to go down there as I said, this is my first. There's quite a lot of water in there actually. That's interesting. But the well, or the spring, sorry, is over there. There's a big spring, as I said, visible from Google Maps. And getting to the end now. See how short this is, and nobody would know unless they invested 5 or 6 months of solid historical research. You would never know anything really existed here. And I'm getting to the end of Lower Hall Lane now, and as we just get up here now, just pick it up here. It's probably 1940s, 50s houses over there. You know, nothing particularly great. Don't forget you're on a floodplain here, so Victorians wouldn't have built anything over here, even though Waltham Forest is full of beautiful Victorian buildings. And here, this is the end of Lower Hall Lane. So all of that is just there. And as I estimated, and it wasn't quite right actually, it's less than half a mile.